Gotta try to put that on silent. So yeah, this is not a judgment from God. We cannot say that enough. This is a man making bad decisions and not stewarding what they've been put in control over correctly. So the sorry about that. We're looking at ourselves right here. That's not where I meant to be. Kind of, as you can see, I'm a little bit new to live streaming. So let's get this. Here we go. That's what I was looking for. It's just terrible. So I was watching it for hours last night because I just couldn't believe that we had gotten to this point. And just when you think that they're getting it a little bit under control, it hops on to the next spot and keeps spreading. And it hits a tree, and then those sparks fly across the street and catch, and the wind was just unbelievably strong, and the wind just takes it.
A lot of planes going over, dropping water, but
so here we've got James Woods.
James Woods joins me now. James, you posted a video that I watched last night. I think it's right after you posted it, coming right up to your deck.
Being shirked.
We're watching it now. I'm so sorry for everything you and all of your friends and all the residents of California are going through tonight. Do you know what's happened to your home
not
since?
Allowing them to store up water.
It's astonishing.
The firefighters are running out of water.
What happened during this experience was that we found out that none of us is a celebrity. None of us is a poor person or a rich person, a Democrat or a Republican. We were just neighbors, just really helping each other. That one video was my neighbor who, after we had evacuated, before he evacuated, ran down to my house to try to stop that fire coming over my deck because he saw it from his deck. I mean, amazing. A fellow named Robert Trinkteller. It was as devastating as it was an extraordinary experience of realizing how essential good neighbors, good friends, good relatives. I've had people call me. I did a movie with Walter Goggins, a wonderful actor, years ago. I talked to him once or twice. I just got a call, a long text from him. Here's my address. The keys are in the car. I'm out of town. Use our house. Here's all the codes. I mean, people offering us their homes and so on. And that's my beautiful home there. Was my beautiful home. So all I know now from him, he stayed overnight, which he shouldn't have done, but he did, fighting the fire. There was no water pressure, of course. All the fire hydrants were dead, as we now know. The fire trucks were there, but they couldn't pump water, as it turned out. He fought the fire himself of his house with a bucket in the pool. And this morning texted me and said, look, I had 3 hours sleep. I just got up. The houses on either side of you have burned down. Every house across the street from you is burned down. but I can see your roof. Now, I have a wooden house with wooden beams. If you can see my roof, it may be gutted. It may be, we don't know. And all we know is that at midnight, when the trucks were there, all the fire alarms were going off in our house remotely to our phones. Sarah and I were both getting, hallway monitor is on, bedroom monitor is on. It was as if you could, track the fire as it was going through your house, but it could have been the smoke from the houses next door. I don't know. So it's possible. I don't think it's very likely, but it's possible our one house is standing, even though all our wonderful neighbors and every one of them is a friend and been wonderful to us and us, I hope, to them.
James,
it's
James,
a little paradise in the hills.
Your comments about neighbors being critically important, and so oftentimes now in our busy lives, we don't even know our neighbors, or people cocoon themselves and don't. But I think your point at such a time of great tragedy is one that we should all take in tonight. Get to know the people around you. Get to know them.
Well, there are people who will probably say, "Oh, you sound like you're, doing a Hallmark movie, talking about the love of your neighbors." Well, next door to us, the house below us, and I think you have a video right where that fire is. The house next to us, right to the right of that tree. In fact, that tree's on his property, believe it or not. Is a 94-year-old gentleman who has advanced dementia.
I see a viewer.
He has a caregiver.
Can you let me know whether or not
he was in the hospital? So thank God he wasn't there during the fire. We thought. We get down the hill after we evacuate. Robert was still up the hill. We get down the hill, and I said to Sarah, we've got to call Francis, his son, who lives in, I think he's a professor at Harvard or something. Just make sure his dad isn't in the house. I think he's in the hospital. I'm pretty sure. We called, and he said, "What's going on?" I said, "Well, there's a fire in the Palisades." He said, "Oh, no, I've been in a meeting." This is right at the beginning, because we were at the epicenter of the beginning of the fire. And I said, your dad's in the hospital, right? He goes, "No, he's in the house with a new caregiver. I don't know who they are." Well, it turns out what happened was I called 911. I finally got through to somebody. The fire department. That's the house right there. That's his house, and we could look down into his window. And I got someone in the fire department. I said, "Look, this 94-year-old guy with dementia, he doesn't even know that you've got to get to that house. We'll get there. We'll get there." So Robert went down. It turned out, he said, "No, there's nobody there." And he said, "The front door's open." It turned out later that the fire department had said to the caregiver, who was new and not from this country and probably a little afraid of authority, and I say that kindly, they said, "You must evacuate. We will come back for him. Don't worry." And they either forgot or they hadn't gotten there yet.
Oh my goodness.
So Robert went in the house. He said, "There's nobody here." I said, "They keep him in a little room that used to be the so-called maid's room. It's around the kitchen." I've been in the house because he used to fall out of his chair and we'd go over.
So did they get him out, James?
They got him out and the house burned down an hour later.
Oh my. There are probably so many stories like that. We're going to hear thousands of stories of people who are elderly, alone, might live alone, trying to save their pets, go back in.
Oh, yeah. His son he was out of his mind, got here.
Wow.
He said, "We don't even know how to find him," because he's at the hospital. He doesn't know his name. He just found him. We found him about an hour ago.
James, I want to ask you about something that when you said last night, we couldn't get any water. There was no water at the hydrants. Yeah. A lot has been discussed today about why that is. We're going to get into a little bit more of that in the next segment. But you guys pay, I think, the highest taxes in the United States. If not, you and New York are kind of tied, or Illinois, but among the highest. No water in the hydrants.
Taxes in the United
17.6 million cut from the fire department. Karen Bass, a recent headline. I think you might have tweeted that out from the New York Post.
And no water.
And our new fire chief, has. And by the way, LA Fire Department is fantastic. The people, it's like the people who work for the federal government. So many of such good people, But the people in charge, she took over and she put on her bio that her priority, my highest priority, is inclusion, diversity, and equity. That is my priority. And somebody forgot to fill all the reservoirs, I guess, with water, because When I was getting smoke alarms, there was a fire truck parked in front of my house, but they couldn't pump any water because there was none, because they didn't put them in the reservoirs. Okay. And they were busy cutting, look, it's the same we had with all the crime we have in our neighborhood, in Los Angeles, when we had that idiot Gascon. They just didn't care. Everybody was running loose. They were smashing places. You couldn't walk down the street.
A return to competent leadership. This may be a wake-up call. We're not trying to make this political, but when you can't get water and your homes are burning and you have people trapped in their homes who don't have the ability to walk out, that's a problem. That's a real
major
problem that has to be solved. So, James, I'm glad I think you were the first one to actually put that out there last night.
Laura, with all due respect, if it is true that things were handled this way, if it is true that Gavin Newsom is the absolute blithering idiot that I believe he is in the way he has handled fire management in this state again and again and again and again, this isn't a wake-up call. This is the kind of thing they have tribunals for, where they try people and say, you had an oath of office to perform really certain duties. When you're the fire chief, this isn't a social justice exercise that you're in charge of. This is you getting water to areas that need water because there are fires in 100-mile-an-hour winds burning houses to the ground. I watched on a Ring camera a guy have to sit and watch his pet burn to death. Those things are issues of the heart when you watch a cherished little pet. Or, look, my home is a building. It was
it's just terrible.
We worked 3 years putting the home together. We loved our little house, but it means nothing compared to the 5 people who lost their lives.
James,
the wake-up call.
Yeah, I hear you. And again, we're going to learn a lot more about this, but we know a lot already. And we're going to get into some of this next segment.
Goodness.
Not all was kumbaya out there today. Specifically, one individual who goes by @PiperK on Twitter, on X, I guess a former faculty member at Mizzou, Karen Piper, she tweeted, and she since deleted the tweet, James Wood's house is burning down. It's karma calling.